Hi there, it's Alexandra from the Middlesized Garden YouTube channel and blog, and I'm here at the Business Design Centre in Islington at the Garden Press event, where a lot of the big gardening companies, organisations and influencers meet to talk to each other really about what's going to be big in gardening 2020. I've spoken to a number of people from different companies and organisations to find out what we're going to be using in our gardens this year.
Hi, I'm Michael Perry, also known as Mr. Plant Geek. My website is mrplantgeek.com, where there's a huge range of interesting articles. I'm going to tell you about a couple of trends that I think are coming up in 2020. Firstly, I believe the trend of blurring the lines when it comes to plants is here, and it's going to stay. And I believe houseplants being used outside in borders. You often see this in parks and gardens, so spider plants being used alongside begonias, petunias, kind of mixing up our expectations. So perhaps a Tradescantia in a window box or a hanging basket, using that as a filler in the same way you would Scaevola or Bidens. But equally, how about outdoor patio plants indoors? Some of the rosebud primulas look amazing as a little windowsill plant in a nice little terracotta pot. So kind of outdoors, indoors, blurring those lines. And again, urban gardens, I believe we'll see a lot more small trees and shrubs grown in containers as well. So a lot of small trees are suitable for containers for many, many years. And there's a huge range of graffiti-like shrubs as well that have got coloured leaves, gold, purple, not your usual green. They're often evergreen as well, so look good all year round and grow well in pots too. So that's my couple of predictions for 2020 from Mr. Plant Geek.
So I'm Rosie Hardy from Hardy's Cottage Garden Plants. I think a lot of colour, and people want a lot of colour in their gardens. People are interested in masses of different types of plant material, because the more flower you have, the more insects you introduce into the garden. The more insects, the more wildlife friendly a garden is, the better it is for everything. The insects are out semi at the bottom of the ladder. They help us with our food production. People forget that our food production needs pollinators, not just bees, everything else. So the more flowers you have, the more insects you get in. More insects you get in, more birds you'll get in, and therefore you are really helping all of the environment. Flowers, colour, scent makes everybody happy. Plants that flower for a long period, that's what people are wanting. They're wanting not just something that is just a one-off and flowers for say 10 days. That's not what's wanted. People want things that are going to continually bloom. So your geums are going to be really a big forefront. Some of the daisy plants, because they're repeat flowering, so there's a lot of that type of material coming through. Short ones, tall ones. People want architecture as well. They're going away from the really dwarfed plants. They're wanting things that are billowy and give architecture. And I think the brighter colours are coming back. So you're getting the reds, you're getting the yellows, you're getting some of the soft colours, but if you don't have a bit of bright and zing in there, you don't see it. Yeah, it's too muted. So you've got to have a little bit of zing in the garden as well.
I'm Michael Marriott from David Austin Roses. And I'd like to talk about how people are planting their roses mixed up with other plants much more than before. So rather than having a rose garden, which can be very spectacular, just mixing up your plants with things like perennials, biennials and annuals. And it's a great way of trying to keep them healthier because the pests and diseases find it much more difficult to spread from one rose to the other. And it just looks beautiful. The contrast of the small flowers of the perennials contrast beautifully with the big flowers of the roses. So it's a really effective way of growing very healthy, lovely roses in your garden. The ones to avoid are the sort of the super vigorous ones, things like Lysimachia punctata, which sort of spreads everywhere, and the Peter Six-Hills giant, maybe Alchemilla mollis that drops its seeds everywhere. So what roses hate is having other plants growing right round the base of the roses. Keep them maybe about sort of 45 centimetres, 50 centimetres away from the rose, so that the flowers still cuddle up to each other and look beautiful next to each other, but you don't want them growing right round the base. It's a great way of introducing blue into the colour scheme with roses, because of course there's no true blue roses. So things like the campanulas, various geraniums, delphiniums, things like that, things like salvias and nepetas, the less vigorous nepetas, are brilliant from that. I actually like, from the competition point of view, I actually like growing the annuals There's lots of pretty hideous annuals out there, but actually there's some really lovely ones, and because they have a smaller root system, even if they grow quite close to the rose, then you can still, they don't compete too much with the rose. And one of my very favourites is that ground cover annual called Phacelia tenacetifolia, which is just absolutely brilliant. It's the best thing for encouraging bees and other insects into the garden. It's a lovely little thing. It grows like mad. It's dead easy to, just have to throw a few seeds around and it springs up, and it's absolutely brilliant.
I'm George Plumtree. I'm Chief Executive of the National Garden Scheme, and I think at the moment one of my real emphasis for both the National Garden Scheme and what I think is really important is this whole idea that people either do gardening or visit gardening because of the sort of health and well-being benefits for them individually. And we've been promoting this very strongly for a number of years. We commissioned a report called Gardens and Health. Seems a very long time ago now, in 2016 from the King Fund, but I think what's happened in the intervening time is this has really taken hold for a lot of people. Of course people garden because they want to make their garden beautiful, they want to learn about more plants, but I think the idea that the time spent is of mental or physical health, well-being and benefit for you is something which, and it's spreading way beyond the core group of keen, knowledgeable gardeners. Lots of people who garden who are not knowledgeable. This is a real incentive for them.
My name's Sean James Cameron from the YouTube channel Gardening Made Easy. I think the trends this year to do with vegetables, because there is so much uncertainty going on with these diseases flying all over the place, and to do with Brexit. I think people want reliability. So I think the RHS badge of garden merit is actually really going to come into its own this year, because people they want to grow something that they know is going to work and going to give them the results that they want. So I think that's going to be one of the trends for 2020.
So my name's Ian Cross. I'm the retail marketing manager for Mr. Fothergill Seeds, and we cover Johnson Seeds as well as part of the company. You were asking about trends. Veg has definitely grown back to kind of where it was a bit earlier. There was a huge growth in veg, just interesting growing veg, probably around the time we had the big slump in the economy. That fell away actually after that, a few years afterwards. A number of different things. We had very bad sort of sequence of weather over a couple of years, and I think that was a combination of new people coming in, finding it a bit tough, and then poor seasons, which everyone found tough, probably putting people off, so it kind of fell away. And that's now come back, so I think people have rediscovered gardening. Probably the more recent trend has been growth in flowers, and really it's been wildflowers and wildlife, two slightly distinct areas there. So specifically wildflowers as in native wildflowers, and one or two varieties have kind of come out of nowhere really. So a good example would be yellow rattle. It survives by living off grass, so it cuts the vigour of grass down, which is something that flower meadows need because grass is generally more vigorous and outcompete. So that's been quite an interesting indicator of people being generally interested in growing wildflower meadow type. But then kind of alongside that has been wildlife gardening, which is slightly different. So people looking for varieties that are good for wildlife. So good sources of pollen, nectar, breeding areas. So that whole kind of considering the garden as a holistic kind of area for wildlife.
I'm Tanya from Lovely Greens, and we are here at the Garden Press event, and I've had a little bit of a look around the stalls, and a couple of things that have popped out to me have been things made with recycled materials. So one of them is this throw bag, and there's several different sizes, and they're from a company called Root Pouch. And what's really cool about these is that they're made out of recycled water bottles, and so they're taking water bottles that maybe might not have even been recycled, creating a kind of a soft material out of that, and then creating these grow bags that can last 15 years. So this is fantastic. And then I saw something else that was great. So garden chairs that are made out of recycled fishing nets, and they're really sturdy. They look pretty good, and each chair takes 3.5 kilograms of plastic out of the ocean. So that trend and seeing more recycled materials, even if it is plastic, it's giving it a second life, and so that gets a thumbs up from me.
So my name is Ashley from Root Pouch. We are a manufacturer of fabric planting containers. They're made out of recycled water bottles. And what we do is we take a water bottle, we break it down, and we kind of shoot it through what looks like a shower head when it's melted. And when it comes out, this is 100% recycled water bottles. And then we make our fabric pots out of it.
So hi, I'm Andy Garland from BBC Radio Kent's award-winning Sunday gardening programme, and here at the Garden Press event at the Design Centre in Islington. And I've had a chance to wander around the show already this morning, and the kind of key things that grab me are the continuing push towards sustainable gardening, both in terms of reducing plastic, reducing peat use, and increasing use of biological controls in the garden, both as spray products, but also using biological controls like nematodes and other biological predators in the garden, and reducing chemical use. That's what I've seen so far.
Hello, my name's Tamsin Westhorpe, and I'm co-chair of the Garden Media Guild, garden writer and podcaster, and I also garden at Stockton Gardens in Herefordshire. So I'm the author of The Modern Country Gardener, which came out in February. I'm a lover of lawns, so I really appreciate the lawn. And I'm thrilled to see that technology is moving forward with mowers that are a really reasonable price with the battery-powered system. So there's definitely a concerted effort to reduce the amount of petrol mowers, and the batteries are so light. They may well only last for sort of 25-30 minutes, but if you buy 2 batteries, I think it could revolutionise a small garden. You can get a very lightweight mower, no cables, no fuel, easy to use. So I think that is absolutely my thing from today that I would like people to see.
Hello, I'm Peter Challoner. Really pleased to talk to you about Cobra garden machinery and the general trend in the whole market towards cordless technology, moving away from petrol, which has got many issues associated to it, and really embracing cordless technology. And so we're in a transition really from going from petrol powered products to cordless technology really. Over the next 5 years the transition is going to be really an elimination of petrol products.
So I work at Candide. I've been working there for 2 years, and what we're trying to work on is connecting a very fragmented market together in a useful platform for people to access information. So think nurseries. At the moment we're partnering with Hardy's to try and ensure that our 300,000 users that we've got within the app can actually find the plants that are very good quality in the UK. If you look at Instagram, there's a huge trend for botanicals and things like that, and consuming things which are good for you rather than taking in toxins to your body. And I think in turn that's enabling people to think about growing plants themselves that wouldn't necessarily otherwise. The future, I think, is about growing to eat, but not just vegetables, botanicals as well. And so the forage movement is big and strong at the moment. I can see that getting stronger next year as well. But also educating people about the botanical interesting facts behind plants. I think because there is this surge in interest in plants at the moment, learning about why a plant is called a certain name, or where it was first discovered, or the kind of the meanings behind the naming and common names and things like that. We're seeing a lot of interest in that at the moment.
If you've enjoyed that, do please hit like, because then I'll know you'd like to hear more about trends and what you can use in your garden. And if you'd like tips, ideas and inspiration for your garden, then do subscribe to the Middlesized Garden YouTube channel, and thank you for watching.